All right, guys. All right, guys. Well, good morning. My name is Laura Herrera, and I want to thank every single one of you guys for making the training here today. Start off by thanking you guys for your business. If you're watching this training, chances are you're buying our inbound final expense calls, and you're showing up to learn more about how it is that we go and close deals. And the goal here today is to help you guys with that. As you guys know, we have a guarantee, and we guarantee 40% conversion ratios. Selling insurance for 20 years, final expense only. For over a decade, I've been selling over the phones. So I know exactly what it takes to make it in this business. I know the struggles, the frustration. And as the saying goes, right, if it was easy, everybody would do it. But it's not. It's sales. You're dealing with people from different walks of life. And it's up to us to be able to make a living selling folks funeral insurance. So today's training is really designed to keep it as simple as possible, help you guys understand how to sell this product over the phone, as well as providing that good old-fashioned customer service that people really want. Regardless of, the world that we live in, people still like the personal touch. And over the phone, you can still give them that, but you got to know what you're doing. And the goal again here today is to show you guys exactly what it is that we do and how you can implement it to help your overall success. An alpha closer, sometimes when people hear the word alpha, they think of this arrogant person, and it's not close to that. But an alpha is never affected by the circumstances of their conditions or their situation. They can deal with it with grace and move forward. You got to be strong. And if you're in sales, chances are you're an alpha. You're a strong person. And it don't matter if you're an introvert or an extrovert. That has nothing to do with your strength. So remember, helping people buying insurance has to do with less talking and what? Listening. Listening to the objections that are being presented to you. I can't emphasize that enough. Sometimes people think that the best salesmen are the ones that talk the most. No, the best salesperson is the one that can listen to the person's needs, to their objections. And when you're being presented with objections and resistance, sometimes you can misunderstand what's happening because you're not listening. You're assuming. So in order to be an alpha closer, you got to start with one quality, and you have to listen before you talk. And that's one of the keys to your success. If you talk, assume, you're going to burn through leads and you're not going to make sales. I promise you that. So with that said, let's get right into it. How is it that we generate our leads? Well, these are not live transfers. No live transfers. These are inbounds, ladies and gentlemen. These are people that have responded to an ad on social media, TV, and they've called in. When they call in, they're calling into a CRM that you guys are a part of. And then that consumer connects with you in real time. So I'm going to give you guys again another illustration of what that looks like. Here, right here is one of our creatives, and we have a series of creatives. It's important for all of you guys to look at the creative, read the creative, and understand that these are the only ads that are being approved. Because the better you understand what is being put out there, it's going to help you with your confidence. And I can promise you this, none of our creatives are gimmicks. My goal is not to sell you an inbound of a free back brace or a free iPhone so you can try to sell them final expense. No. As a final expense guy myself, my number one goal is to put you in front of somebody that wants to talk to you about what? Final expense. Now, I would love to figure out a marketing strategy that when the person calls in, they say, I want to buy. I don't care what it costs. I want to buy now. I would love to figure that out. But until now, after 15 years of being in lead generation, I've never been able to hit it on the mark. But what I do know is how to generate that traffic, how to generate people calling me. Inbounds are the highest quality lead that you can buy right now. Period. There's nothing else better. The only thing that I would say would be better, and that wouldn't help you and me, is the consumer to insurance products, where the consumer goes online and buys insurance. And guess what, guys? People are buying life insurance online these days. But before that transition happens, we still have a window of opportunity to sell insurance over the phone. So again, if you haven't seen the creatives, please look at the creatives. Every single one, look at it, analyze it. So when you get those phone calls coming to your phone and Miss Jones hits you with, oh, I thought this was free, or I thought this, or I thought that, don't give in. Please don't. Don't give in to that. Because you know and I know that there was nothing that was free other than a quote for them. And the sooner you guys understand that, the better. Because your confidence level is going to be much, much higher, because you will not have a single doubt in your mind of wondering, what if the marketing company slipped in an ad where they were giving away free government benefits? That's not going to happen. And the sooner you understand that, ladies and gentlemen, the better. These people are surfing the internet, and when they're ready, they're going to call. They're going to dial this 1-800 number that comes into our call center, which is our virtual call center. And then from there, the system routes their phone call in real time to each and every one of us. So please, I implore you, understand this concept. Understand that outside of this, there's no other marketing. My motivation here today is to help you guys increase your conversions. And it truly starts by understanding this. Okay? So with that said, let's move on. When you guys are going through your presentation, it's really important for you guys to start memorizing these responses. Okay? Thank you for sharing that with me. Thank you for sharing that with me. You're a very easy person to talk to. Thank you for sharing that with me. I won't take much longer. Thank you for sharing. That's a great question. I'm going to get to that in just a few moments. I promise you. These are going to be your most common response mechanism to continue the conversation. Why? Why is these responses so important? Well, it comes to your sales process. And that's where most people fail. They don't have a response mechanism. and they don't have a process from start to finish. And like I told you guys at the beginning, we're going to keep this simple. So what I need for you guys to do, because we guarantee you 40% conversion ratios, guys. What are you going to do? We're going to keep it simple. You're going to follow the sales script that's in this playbook from start to finish, because your number one goal is to make full presentation, not just give rates. If your idea is that your job is just to give rates and shop for the best rates for your clients, that's not going to work. I'm sorry, it's not going to work. So it's important that as you guys are going through your script in your CRM, it's right in front of you. Fight the urge to skip parts of the script. Fight it. You guys have heard the saying, did they sell you or did you sell them? Because in every phone call, one or the other is going to happen. They're going to sell you or you're going to sell them. And unfortunately, in sales, the customer ends up winning that battle most of the time. Why? Because the agent loses. They lose what they were saying. They lose their train of thought. Why? Because they're winging it. This ain't an order taking strategy. Yes, they're calling in. Yes, they're looking for funeral insurance. Yes, they're looking for information, but they are not calling in to buy. Ladies and gentlemen, if that was the case, we wouldn't be on this call right now. These people are looking for more information. It's up to you and me to give them that information before we could even close them. So with that said, what I wanted to do is share with you guys a couple of you guys' audios, because you guys are on a 15-second buffer. That's what you guys are paying for. But we have a 60-second buffer and a 2-minute buffer. Obviously, the bigger buffer times, the more money your lead costs. My customers can pick whatever buffer time they want. But I'm going to really try to emphasize to you guys that buffer times are worthless if you don't know how to pick up the phone. I promise you. 2 minutes, you can be on the phone for 2 minutes and not have gotten nowhere. But here's what I've noticed. Again, and I want you guys to see this, okay? And here's today's call flow. And you guys can see the screen, right, guys? Here's today's call flow.
Yes.
Just our overall customer base. Now I see Rihanna Hamilton's on here. And if you notice, she got 4 minutes on there. To me, this is a red flag, because this tells me that she's not following the script that we're training on, just right off the top. And ladies and gentlemen, please understand this. It is very important that you can build rapport, you can build trust, you can build value, all what? Within minutes. So 4 minutes, it's going to be a little challenging to build that type of value and need and elevate them to a closing decision. Does that make sense? Guys, 4 minutes. We're just going to listen. This is the first time I'm going to listen. But again, this is a red flag for me, because I see 4 minutes on the phone. It tells me they made it past 15 seconds, made it past 60 seconds. Geez, Louise, we made it past 2 minutes. What happened? Let's listen.
Good morning. This is Jan in the Final Expense Online Department. Who do I have the pleasure of speaking with?
This is Rita Jackson. Hello?
Oh, I'm sorry, Rita. I was writing that down, but I'm great. Well, it's a pleasure to meet you. First, can I get the state that you're calling from?
Michigan.
And were you looking for a quote for yourself or for a loved one?
For whatever. For my husband?
Okay, great. Well, again, my name is Jan. I am licensed in the state of Michigan, and I'll be happy to help you with this. I'll just have a few quick qualifying questions to make sure you're eligible for coverage. Now, are you doing it for your husband or for you?
For my husband.
For your husband? Okay. What is your husband's current age and date?
So guys, think about this. We're already 1 minute into this phone call. No resistance, and we're already 1 minute in, okay? Let's continue.
First.
It's 6/26/48.
That was 1948?
Yeah.
Okay, and what is his height and weight? Or just a guess?
180 and 5'8".
Okay, cool. Does he smoke or use any form of tobacco?
No.
Perfect. Does he have any breathing issues like asthma, COPD, chronic bronchitis?
No.
Perfect. Has he ever been diagnosed with diabetes?
At this point in time, we're at 2 minutes into the conversation. I emphasize this because regardless if you're on a 15-second buffer, 60-second buffer, or a 2-minute buffer, what you say matters. It matters. But at the end of the day, 2 minutes is not very long. 60 seconds is not very long. 15 seconds is not very long. So buffer times are important, yes, only in the event that you're dealing with something that's now not interested in talking to me and you about funeral insurance. But what happens after that? What happens after the buffer is what matters. We're at 2 minutes in this conversation. Let's see how we finalize it.
No.
Does he have any circulatory issues like history of heart attacks, blood clots, or strokes?
No.
Well, and how about cancer?
What?
How about cancer? Does he have cancer?
No. No.
Okay, great. Any other major medical issues or anything you have been prescribed medication for? Or him?
No.
Well, any recent hospitalizations for any reason?
No.
Okay, well, it does look like he is qualified. Let me just run. And what amount were you looking? Were you looking for mostly like $40,000 for your husband or a little lower?
How does it work?
So our coverage for final expense will go up to $40,000. So with final expense, it would be like whenever he passes, you would get that money to pay for his funeral or cremation or whatever you would like to do.
Is it like an insurance?
Yes, it is an insurance. It is insurance.
And you gotta pay monthly?
Yes, you would have to pay monthly for it.
Okay. I was just checking.
Were you not interested? Because the quotes for your husband, I have for $20,000 of coverage. that would be $184 monthly. But if you went down to 10,000, it would be $94 monthly.
Hmm. No, I guess I'm not interested. Thanks anyway.
You're welcome. Have a great day.
Yeah.
So you guys see this. We're in 4 minutes into the conversation, and the agent got right into quotes, rates, and that was the end. Was there an issue if the customer was interested in final expense insurance or a quote? Not at all. The customer's calling in real time. Let's listen to another one. Carol. 52 seconds. Let's see what
Please
happens.
leave your message for
Ronnie.
Hello, Mr. Ronnie Womble. Hello, Ronnie Womble. This is Carol with Final Expense Online Department. You just gave me a call. I was looking at your date of birth, and you don't receive Social Security, so the date that of your choosing would be the date that you give me, sir, for next month. Please give me a call back, and I'll be glad to go over that information with you. Thank you, and have a
Let's move on here to the next one. Deborah. That one's from today.
belonging to.
Hi, you have reached Arlette at the moment.
Okay. Well, I think those are your
Some,
outbound dials, right, Deborah?
yeah, some of these are outbound,
Yeah.
so we'll be on the call
Yeah,
every
outbound.
once in a while, and it will,
Yeah.
we're not sure if it disconnects or if they hang up, so we call them back sometimes.
Correct. All right, let me just pull one more. Let me see here. Pull one more file here to give you guys an idea. That's why it's important for you guys to listen into your calls, feel them out. Here we got Juan. Yes, is yesterday. Listen to Juan. He got 6 minutes. Now, ladies and gentlemen, when I see 6 minutes, it's a red flag because I know for the first minute or two, it's the pleasantries of the conversation. But again, you're trying to build rapport, you're trying to build the need, you're trying to paint a picture of death before you give them rates and money. If you're jumping right in and giving them rates and what your budget is, it's going to be where you're just selling to the low-hanging fruit, and it's going to be very expensive. When I started selling insurance over the telephone over 10 years ago, it was costing me $500 a day to make one sale, working TV inbound. And the reason it was so expensive for me and I couldn't get none of my agents to follow through, it was because I was getting right into the rates. I'm thinking in my mind, they're calling in for a quote. I'm going to give them a quote, right? But I realized within a few weeks that I needed to spend some time on the phone. I needed to give them some value, or else I wasn't going to get where I wanted to. So for all of you guys listening in, it's important that you guys follow this script from start to finish. And that's why we're here on this training. Again, now let's listen to Mr. Juan.
Good afternoon. This is Juan in the Final Expense Department. Who do I have the pleasure of speaking with?
This is Betty Martino.
Thank you very much, Miss Betty. I can see you're calling from Florida.
Yes,
Perfect. And were you looking for a quote for yourself or a loved one?
myself.
Perfect. And again, my name is Juan. I'm licensed in the state of Florida. I'll be happy to help you with this. I just have to ask you a few quick qualifying questions to see if you're eligible for coverage. First is, what is your current date of birth?
August the 30th, 1960.
So again, we're at 1 minute. So if the agency was paying for a 1 minute buffer from this point forward, it's billable. So think about this, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay. Your height and weight?
I'm 5'4". I weigh about 190.
Perfect. And do you use any type of nicotine?
No.
Okay, perfect. And I don't need to take the information from you now, but do you currently bank with a bank?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. And now I'm just gonna ask you a couple quick medical questions. No exam or anything like that will be required, but do you have any breathing issues, asthma, COPD, bronchitis, anything like that?
No, I don't have none of that, but I do have a new heart put in, and about last month they put.
Guys, 2 minutes in. So think of everything that's been said in the first 2 minutes. I haven't heard no resistance from the client about, I'm not interested. I don't know what you're calling about. That's out the window. The pressure's on you. It's you against you. 2 minutes in. And I emphasize this because buffer times to me mean nothing, but they do mean something to my client. Sometimes clients want the bigger buffer times because they want to make sure that the lead that's being calling in is interested in their valid lead. What you will notice on the inbounds is that very, very few people are not serious about talking to you. Let's continue listening.
On a breathing machine to sleep at night better because I snore, and I'm short of breath. When you get a new heart put in, you be short of breath. You can't walk a long way.
Correct. Okay. So you said you had a heart transplant and you're on a CPAP machine. Is it a CPAP machine?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Okay. When did you have the heart transplant?
7 years ago.
Okay. And did you have cirrhosis? I mean, what was the cause?
They don't know. They don't know. My heart just, my valve burst, and they clamped it, and it went from there to me getting a new heart put in. They say that they don't know. They study my heart because they never saw a heart burst like my heart did. Because they say they seen that with people that drink and use drugs and stuff, and I didn't do none of that.
Okay.
So they don't know what caused my heart to do that, what it did. Because they say that they see in people that abuse drugs and alcohol, but they didn't see that in me because I didn't do that. I didn't drink and I didn't do drugs, so my heart left them puzzled, so they kept my heart to analyze it.
Okay.
They
So
studied more.
you did or didn't have cirrhosis? Because that's
No,
what they're talking about. That disease is what they're talking about.
no, I didn't have that.
Okay.
Cirrhosis at the liver, no. At the heart, no. They never said I had it, so.
Okay. Let me go ahead. Give me 1 second to pull up some quotes for you. It shows that you are eligible. Okay. Now, you are getting 2 offers for what's called graded coverage. And one of them is graded and the other one is guaranteed issue. Let me explain to you the difference. The guaranteed issue policy is exactly how it sounds. It's guaranteed issue. Like with your medical situation, they will accept you. Now there is a 2-year waiting period. Okay.
Wow, that's a
So
long gap.
yes, ma'am. It is a 2-year waiting period, but after your 2 years, it will take effect. Now in those 2 years, should you pass, the money would be returned. The premium money would be returned that you paid over the 2 years. And then
No,
the other
that's
one,
okay. That's okay.
that one is for $77.64 a month.
Mhm.
For hold on, actually, give me one quick second here. Okay, looks like that's for 10,000 in coverage.
Yeah, that's okay.
77.60. Okay,
That's
and then
okay.
the other. Okay, so you don't want to continue with the rest of the
No,
quoting?
no.
Thank you very much. You have a blessed day.
Mhm. Mhm.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, what is the number one goal of the process? To make
Follow
a
the
full
script.
presentation, right? To make a full presentation. What we just heard is not a full presentation. That's based on the concept. The client's calling in for a quote, and you're just giving them the quote. This lady right here sounds very, very interesting. Very nice. She needs insurance, but the agent didn't meet her at her point of need, period. Because it all revolved around what? Rates and coverage amounts. This ain't auto insurance, guys. It's a whole different type of sale. I share with you guys those audios so you can understand what I mean, that it's crucial to run through the whole presentation that we provide. Because if you don't, you will close less than 10% of these inbounds. It's sad to say. Because you won't know how to reach them. They can say, yeah, I'm interested, I'm interested, I'm interested, and I'm interested. But if you can't close, we got no business. So today, the goal here is for you guys to understand how important it is for you guys to make a full presentation, follow the script that's in the CRM, and that's the goal of the training today. So we're going to dive right into it. All of you guys have my playbook. And these are the fundamentals to telesales. I've been selling insurance over the phone for over a decade. And the first 4 seconds when you pick up the phone are crucial to you making a good presentation with your client. Once they hear you on the phone, and all of you guys, I've heard you guys on the phone, you guys are sharp, you're crisp, you're clear, you guys speak good English. All of this contributes to a good fundamental, which is the first 4 seconds. You got to sound enthusiastic. You got to sound like a person of expertise, a person of authority. And the only way you're going to be able to dominate that is by memorizing your sales script. And if I can get you guys as a company, because I know you guys are employee agents, to unify together, your closing ratios are going to skyrocket. I promise you that. And we have a guarantee here with you guys. You follow my system, you follow my training, you will close 40% plus. But if you don't, I can't make that guarantee to you, because then what you're doing is just you're peddling rates. And as a final expense person of 20 years, we're more than that. Remember, as a broker myself, you have a handful of carriers. If you really analyze each one of those carriers, their rate differences between one to another, they're not much of a price difference. How many times have you paid extra for a service where you know you can get it cheaper, but you pay extra because you like the people that provide the service? I do that all the time. So have this in mind. We're talking about the perfect opening, the first 4 seconds of how important that is to your success. Remember that there's 3 main types of communication. We got our tonality, we got our body language, and we got the words that we say. When you're a door knocking agent, those 3 is what makes up the success to your sales. How you look, how you act, how you sound, and the words that you say matter. But over the telephone, guys, there's no body language because the person can't see you unless you're doing a Zoom call. Over the telephone, that 45% that would have been body language of communication collapses into tonality. So 90% of your success over the phone is how you sound. Remember, they can't see you, but they can make a mental image of what they feel that you know, look like, sound like, the perception they get. So if you sound monotonous, negative, you're stuttering, you're all over the map, it's going to trigger insecurity and fear in your client, and you're not going to get nowhere. 90% tonality of how you sound. Are you stuttering? Are you using crutches? I like to use the word, you know. I got to work on that, because all those little extra crutches create fear in your client. So that's why it's important for you to have this script down verbatim, memorize every word, work on your tonality. And I've listened to you guys. All of you guys have great tonality. You just got to memorize the words. The next thing I want to talk to you guys about is overcoming the anxiety. Every single one of you come from a different background in sales, and you're bringing experience that you've had in the past. You're bringing that to the table. That's why you got hired on, right? It's sometimes very easy to let that anxiety, the inner critic, reach in and start telling you not to follow the script. It's easy. You can tune out. Oh, heck with this guy, Laurel. You don't know what he's talking about. Heck. Part of this guarantee requires you to follow it. So this exercise will help you with your anxiety as you're attempting to trust us. Ask yourself, what's the worst that can happen if I follow Advanced Grow's playbook? Really ask yourself. Well, if you follow it, the worst thing that can happen would be you don't make no sales. That's like the worst. How bad would that really be? Well, my goodness, if I made no sales, that'd be pretty bad. Step 3, what are the odds? When you start really thinking about the odds, you start feeling better and the anxiety starts dropping. When you start to understand that you're not Superwoman or Superman and you're not going to close out 100%, the level of anxiety starts dropping. And you start coming back to earth. What are the odds? Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you follow this training and this script, the odds are still against you because we guarantee that you'll close 40%. So the odds of the worst happening, of them not buying, them yelling at you, them hanging up on you, it's still there. Face it, it's real. So if we're guaranteeing you 40% if you follow our strategy, then that means that 60% of people are going to be nasty. They're not going to buy. They're going to give you the runaround. They're going to mess with you. Those are the odds. Embrace it. And step 4, how do you cope with it? Well, I'll tell you what, if I'm closing 4 out of every 10 inbounds, I'll cope with it very well because that will allow me to make a profit, pay my employees, pay my marketing staff, and make a little bit of profit for me and my family. That's how I'll cope. I encourage you as you're going through this process and you're sitting there in your thoughts and you're starting to question the training, with all humility, work through these exercises and get back to the playbook. It helps every single time because when you have a guarantee, you're leveraging that guarantee. I'm asking you to listen. I'm not asking you to do it for free. I am putting my money on the table, my experience on the table, and I'm humbly asking for you to leave your briefcase at the door, set your ego to the side, and work with me on this. So now let's get into it. If your number one goal is to make a full presentation, and it's pretty simple, all you got to do is follow a sales script, then why is it that agents, and you can see here, have a tendency to fall off the books? Why? Why do they do this? It goes back to anxiety. It goes back to being triggered. So instead of following the script, and Miss Jones says, well, how much is this? I'm very interested. The agent throws their hand in the air and they say, that's my cue to do whatever I need to do. And I'm just going to give them the quote. That's the biggest reason agents lose, because they get sold by the customer. So throughout the presentation, you're going to be dealing with distractions and objections, okay? Distractions and objections. And I've sold thousands of applications. On an average, my group, I have 83 agents. We're doing over 1,000 applications a month with a very small group of reps, people that have been with me for many years. And I'm giving you these statistics based on thousands of applications written over many, many years. These are the most common objections and distractions you're going to face. The first one is, how much longer is this going to take? Because I got to go to the doctor's office. I got to go to the grocery store. I got a family here. I'm cooking. I was just calling in on Facebook right now. How long is this going to take? The tendency of the agent is to immediately, they get flustered and they say, oh my God, oh, I don't want to be rude. Let me reschedule. They sound so interested. I'm going to reschedule. And they offer to reschedule. Guys, when I first started, I made that mistake and it cost me so much because I would reschedule for like 3 or 4 weeks later. And every time I would do that, it was hurting my bottom line. Because then I would struggle to get them on the phone. Then they wouldn't make their appointment. Don't buy into that smoke screen. I want you guys to really focus in on this. So you're going through your script. The customer comes at you and says, well, how much longer is this going to take, Deborah? Because I got to go to the store. Your response will be, thank you for sharing that with me, Deborah. I won't take much longer. Continue on what's in the script. Done. Don't buy into it. Don't get affected. Do not let it trigger you. Your most common response is, thank you for sharing that with me. I won't take much longer. Continue. Why? When I started selling insurance and a customer would tell me, oh, I got to go to the doctor's office, I would immediately get flustered. I'd be like, oh my God, I don't want to be rude. Let me reschedule with these people right now. And I would reschedule. But eventually, after time, I started asking myself, I'm like, man, I'm losing a bunch of money with these people, man. What's going on? How do they even know, if I'm going to take 10 minutes or 30 minutes? What the heck's going on here? They don't know. They don't know if my information value is going to be a 5 minutes or an hour, and they're already rushing me. I'm jumping the gun. And that's when we started saying, thank you for sharing that with me. I won't take much longer. Continue with the script. I'm just buying seconds to move on. But what happens if they come back a secondary time with the same objection? Oh, well, how much time are you going to take? Because I got to go, I'm telling you. I'm going to push a secondary time. And I'm going to respond with, Deborah, I understand, but I really wouldn't want to rush through this because I would not be doing my job correctly. Go back to where you left off in the script. If a third time the customer pushes the issue, then yes, it's appropriate at that point in time to set up a callback. But do not ever let the client pick the date. You set a 24-hour phone call, increments of 24 hours. Not next week, not 2 weeks from now. So again, the most common objection and distraction is, how much longer are you going to take? Because I got to go. What are you going to say? The first response is what? Thank you for sharing that with me. It won't take much longer. Move on with the next word in your script. They come back a secondary time. I understand, Deborah, but I really don't want to rush through this because I would not be doing my job correctly. Push through on the script. If they come back to you a third time, then go ahead and schedule the appointment on your terms within 24 hours. Does that make sense? Guys, yes?
Yes, that's good advice.
Okay. Now let's move on to the second one, premature questions. Oh, this is the worst one. Because if your goal is to follow a sales script and your goal is to stay on track with your script, like if you were an actor and you got the other party asking premature questions, what happens? Well, guys, I just shared with you 2 audio clips where these customers were asking the agent what? Premature questions, and what happened? They followed through and they lost. Those 2 calls that we listened to in my book, they lost. And in fact, after the training, we will get on the phone together and I'm going to call these people myself because I felt like there was food on the table. But why did they lose? Because the customer won. They asked and you gave. So premature questions are really dangerous. Do not fall for it. How much does it cost? Is this permanent whole life? You get type A personalities that want to take control of the conversation. This is very challenging. So how do you deal with those? Because you got to be able to sell to everybody, every personality, everyone, because we're all going to die one day and everyone needs insurance. Here's your response. That is a great question, Deborah. And I want to get to it in just a few moments. I promise you. This response is based on acknowledge, ignore, continue. The biggest issue with agents on the phones that piss clients off is that a client hates it when someone doesn't listen to them or they don't answer their questions, right? They feel ignored. That's why we as salespeople feel this tendency to want to answer their questions. And that is a good tendency, but it can derail you if you don't know what you're doing. So no matter what the premature question is, do not answer it until you can, until it's appropriate. If you answer a premature question, you've lost this game, period. And you're not about to lose it. Sales is tough. So you get a premature question, what are you going to say? That's a great question, Deborah. I'm going to get to it in just a few moments. I promise you. Trust me, you will stop them. Period. And you will buy the seconds you need to make it to the finish line. And now lastly, sometimes another objection is you get talkers, right? Someone that's talking, oh, the fishing trip, and let me talk to you about my car collection, and they're just going to town. And sometimes, you don't want to sound rude, right? And you're trying to find a way of how to cut them off so you continue with the script because you got more leads. What do? Thank you for sharing that with me, Deborah. You're an easy person to talk to. Move on with the script. Thank you for sharing that with me, Deborah. Wow, that's an amazing story. Move on with the script. Thank you for sharing that with me, Deborah. Now, how old are you? Move on with the script. Thank you for sharing that with me is a segue response that will continue on the path of what? Finishing the script. Any questions, guys, at this point in time?
I don't have any questions. Does anyone else?
No, I
So,
appreciate the information.
all right.
No.
So, guys, for the rest of the day, you have the script in front of you. Follow it word by word. Word by word. Memorize it. One of the things that I do with agents is that I have them memorize the script. Word by word. Good morning. This is JJ in the Final Expense Online Department. Who do I have the pleasure of speaking with? You got your client on the phone. Oh, yes, I'm calling in. Well, it's a pleasure to meet you. Were you looking for this quote for yourself or a loved one? Okay, well, let's see if you qualify. The good news is that we don't require a medical exam. We're just going to ask you some health questions. You ask all the health questions on your application. Congratulations, Mr. Jones. Based on what you told me so far, it does appear you qualify for one of our best plans. Mr. Jones, most of the people that I talk to are faced with a problem. The problem is the high cost of death. Now, Mr. Jones, you are probably aware of this, but the average funeral is between $6,000 to $10,000. And that's a lot of money, wouldn't you agree? Mr. Jones, what I do is I help you do two things. Not only fund in advance, but also plan for this in advance. We furnish you with a memorial guide that would allow you the ability to write down all your wishes in writing for your family. Now, Mr. Jones, I'm going to share with you the features and the benefits of your plan. The name of the company is, they've been paying claims now for well over 50 years. Now, your program is a permanent whole life plan that is guaranteed for the rest of your life. Your premiums never increase, your benefits never decrease. And as I mentioned, we don't do no medical exams to get you qualified. We just ask you a few simple health questions directly over the phone. But most importantly, we pay our claims within 24 hours of receiving the required paperwork. Now, do you know why we pay claims so fast? The reason we pay claims that quickly is simple. When you leave this world, it will be one of the worst days in your family's life. You're gone and you're not coming back. So we provide this money the same way that you would if you were still alive. And this is the last gift of love that you can leave your family. The choice is whether you do it today or your loved ones are forced to do it later. No one ever fails to plan. No one ever plans to fail. They simply fail to plan. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at 3 different plans that you might qualify for. It's going to take me just a minute. And keeping affordability in mind, along with providing lasting value for you and your family, this is what I can do. And here are your 3 coverage amounts that you may qualify for. Keyword may qualify for. Option 1, start with your highest. 2, 3. Now, while you're deciding on which one of those plans you want to do today, let me gather a little more information. Mr. Jones, you do have a middle initial. Okay. Can you please confirm your address, please? Your primary and secondary beneficiary. All right. Now, before I go any further, I do need to make sure 100% that you qualify for. I take a couple seconds just to review everything and come back. Mr. Jones, based on your current health condition, you do qualify today. So of the 3 programs we've discussed, which one would you like to leave for your spouse, your son, your family member? Guys, your job is to follow this script from start to finish. And I'll be there every step of the way with you guys with our guarantee. I want to see you guys kill this. Follow this script. We're the lead company. We got so many leads to provide. It's not even a joke. Follow it word by word. Add your personality to it. You got the response mechanisms to keep you alive in this pitch. From being asked premature questions, you know how to handle it. From being interrupted and being rushed on how long this is going to take, you know how to handle it. But you're going to follow your sales process from start to finish. And it finishes here. So of the 3 programs we've discussed, which one would you like to leave behind? So we're going to be doing some workshops throughout the week. But I need for you guys to tattoo this on your mind. When you get to the close, okay? No matter what the objection is, you will suggest the lowest of the 3 options you've presented. Okay? No matter what it is, train your mind not to be affected. Okay? Train yourself. Do not let it affect you. This is the most important part, guys. Your presentation couldn't have been 100%. It could have been 80% there, right? You were a little down on yourself. You weren't 100% on your presentation skills. But when you get to the close, please do not offer no other logical close. Suggest the lowest of the 3. And why is this so important? Remember, as a broker, what, you got 5, 6 other companies? They're all pretty much governed by the same underwriting criteria, pretty much. You got one that might be a little easier on COPD, another one a little easy on this, but overall, they're all pretty much the same. And overall, their rates are what? Pretty much within all a few bucks of each other. So it's not like you're selling to the younger folk where you can shop. If you're trying to insure an NFL athlete, well, let me tell you what, there's a bunch of carriers out there that will step up to bat and provide a proposal. It's different. Final expense, the options for insurance have been destroyed because, hey, they're older folk, they're dealing with more issues. So what? You're thinking of, oh, I'm a broker. Let me ask what the budget is and maybe I can find something. That is worthless. It's empty, empty, empty. So suggest the lowest of the 3, please. So you get to the close, okay? And here's the flow chart. You get to the close. Now, Deborah, out of these 3 policy amounts, which ones do you want? They can either choose a plan or they're going to hesitate. Prepare for the worst. They're going to hesitate. They're going to be undecided. They're going to have to talk it over. Whatever the objection is, you're going to what? Suggest the lowest option. With these leads, the quality of this lead, this is going to be one of the most strongest closes you have. So you get to the close and say, okay, Mr. Javier, now out of these three options, which one of these do you like? Oh, I don't know. They're all expensive. I got to talk it over with my wife, my kids. I don't know. I'm shopping around. Don't let it fluster you. Don't let it mess with your head. Ignore, acknowledge, ignore, continue. You're the professional. You're the expert. Memorize this close. Okay, Deborah, that's okay. You know, a lot of folks have felt that way. So here's what I want to suggest that we do. We're going to go with the lowest option because I know that's the most affordable one. After all, remember, your biggest concern is that we put this protection in place to protect your family from the financial burden of having to pay for your funeral. Now, should you need to add more coverage or make any changes, I'll always be here to help you with that. The last thing that you would want to happen is that you get sick or worse, die without any protection. So go ahead and circle the smallest option. What's your middle initial? Close them right there. When you close them on the suggestion, then you can move on to finishing your sales presentation. Mr. Javier, the way you set this plan up is that we let your bank take care of it every month on the day that you choose. Who do you bank with? Now, Mr. Javier, I do need for you to read me the first 9 numbers on the bottom left-hand side of your check. This is your routing number. Next, read the account number, which is the next set of numbers. Now, Mr. Javier, your bank will send the first payment on to our company tomorrow. What time of the month do you want all future payments to be made? Great. And lastly, what is your social? And then we patch them into the carrier. But let's say you get to the close, all right? And this is where understanding the close is very important, because selling is one thing, closing is a whole different animal. So now we understand the responses that we have to prepare for to keep the conversation going from start to the close. And then now we're at the close, and now we got closer's hat, because we got to think a little different. When the customer comes back and they hesitate and they come at you with the mountain of objections on the first time, what are you guys going to do for your close? No matter what it is, you're going to suggest the lowest of the 3 verbatim. If the customer doesn't buy or still objects to the lowest of the 3, then this is where we separate the little children from the adults. You got to get surgical. And what I mean by that is that you have to get surgical in the sense that you got to prepare yourself to offer a new set of rates, knowing you don't have a lot of options, because remember, we're in final expense, or you're really going to identify if this person deserves a 24-hour callback. All right? So I don't want to lose you on this part. So again, when we get to the close and we ask Miss Deborah, out of these 3 options, which one of these do you want? And Miss Deborah comes back with a bunch of objections. What are we going to close them with? Regardless of what they say? The suggestion, word by word. When you give them the suggestion close and they still come back with the similar objection or a secondary objection, then what? We're going to clarify, we're going to isolate their concern, and we're going to attempt to overcome it with a new set of rates or with a strong follow-up. So how does that sound like? Okay. Step by step. Step A, you're going to clarify. It's important that you clarify with a lot of care and sincerity without sounding confrontational. We're betting that it's a price issue. And we're betting that their excuse they're giving you is really more than just price. They just don't want to tell you. So how are you going to clarify? Step A to doing that is, thank you for sharing that with me, Javier. But just to clarify my thinking, what is it that you would like to think about it so I can better understand your thoughts better? This opens up the conversation to Mr. Javier. Once he gives me that information, then I'm going to move to step B. Thank you for helping me understand that, Javier. But other than you having to think about it, Javier, did you have any other issue with this policy? You want to get a no. If the customer says, well, yeah, is this term whole life? Then bingo, it gives you a room to answer any maybe questions that weren't answered, etc. And then step C is your segue. Now, Mr. Javier, if the policy was a little more affordable, would it be easier for you to move forward with this policy today? Or you just really got to think about it? If the client says if it was cheaper, it'd be easier, that's your cue to disregard the 3 quotes that you presented and present 3 new quotes. If the client comes back and says, no, I just really got to think about it, then that's your cue to give them 24 hours. And now I'm going to give you guys an example. Okay? So Javier, you're my client, okay? And you hit me hard, man, with objections, right? You there, sir?
Yes, sir, I am.
All right. So here we go. All right. So, Mr. Javier, of the 3 programs we've discussed, which one would you like to go ahead and leave behind to your children, sir?
I don't know right now. I need to think about it. Can you maybe call me back in a couple of days? Think about this a little bit.
Okay, Javier. That's okay. A lot of folks have felt that way. So here's what I want to suggest that we do. We're going to go with the lowest option because I know that's the most affordable one. After all, Javier, remember your biggest concern is that we put this protection in place to protect your family from the financial burden of paying for your funeral. Now, should you need to add more coverage or make any changes, I'll always be here to help you with that. Javier, the last thing that you would want to happen, sir, is that you get sick or worse, die without any protection. So go ahead and circle the smallest option of $5,000 for $40. What's your middle initial again, Javier?
It's A.
All right. Now, Javier, the way we set this up is that we let your bank take care of it every month on the day that you choose. Now, who do you bank with?
Bank of America, but I still need to think about it a little bit.
Okay, so here we are, right? Javier's hesitating. All right. Well, Javier, thank you so much for sharing that with me. But Javier, just to clarify my thinking so I have a better understanding of your statement, when you say you're thinking about it, you need to think about it a little bit more, sir, can you please help me understand what you mean by that so I have a clear understanding?
Well, I need to check my budget. What it boils down to.
Okay, so you're on a fixed income, I assume Social Security income, disability income only?
Yes, sir. Yeah, that's exactly what's going on.
I understand. Javier, most of my clients, I would say 98% of my customers are low income folk, 2% are high net worth individual. So I completely understand you having to check your budget. Did you take all your money out of your bank? Is that what happened and you didn't put it back in there? Or do you just feel that these rates are just something that would be out of your ability to pay?
Yeah, I think the rates may be a little bit out of my league.
I understand. Well, Mr. Javier, thank you so much for helping me understand your thoughts better, sir. Other than the affordability issue with the rates, do you have any other issue with this policy that I presented to you today?
No, that was really it.
All right. Javier, lastly, sir, if I can find you a cheaper policy, would that be easier for you to move forward and take action with this coverage today? Or do you really, really got to look at your dollars and cents to see what your budget's at, sir?
I think if we got, we found something a little cheaper, I may be able to handle something different.
All right. Okay. Well, you know what? Fair enough. So why don't we just go ahead and disregard the three rates that I gave you, and let me present to you 3 different rates. Okay. Here we go. Now, you guys see that?
Mhm.
You take them to the close. If they don't pick an option, you're going to suggest the lowest. If they don't buy the lowest, you're going to clarify, you're going to isolate it, and you're going to overcome that objection by following this response mechanism. But this is one thing I want to tell you guys. This is my closing strategy, and I've been using this for many years. The beauty of inbounds, and I don't want to jinx anybody, is that we're not getting this far. With live transfers, I would go the distance, going all the ways to the end of my close. With inbounds, we're not getting there. Does that make sense? Because we're dealing with a different type of buyer, different type of prospect that's searching now. So if you can keep them engaged on the phone call, if you can keep them going through the process, and when you get to the close, you're able to follow through on my training, I guarantee you guys 40%. In my humble opinion, it doesn't matter if you're on the 15-second buffer, 60-second buffer, or 2-minute buffer. Bottom line, if you can't keep that customer on the phone, you will lose on any of those buffers because you won't be able to fully engage your client. So with that said, ladies and gentlemen, let's make it a great day. I sell insurance every day. I personally still sell. I train from the front. I close 10 to 20 apps a week, and I'm here for you guys. If you guys need more help, I run workshops every week. So with that said, let's make it a great day. Follow through on the training, and you guys will start seeing a difference in your guys' results, and you guys are going to start seeing more sales coming through. All right? So with that said, if there's no other questions, we'll go ahead and end the training here. I really thank you guys for your time, and let's make it happen. All right? God bless all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice day.